Welcome. This is Soothing Whispers ASMR. As always, if there are any sounds or words you would like to hear me perform, please leave them below in the comments. Tonight, I thought we could enjoy some more delightful fairy tales by the Brothers Grimm, beginning with The Boasting Wolf. A fox was one day talking to a wolf about men. They are so strong and brave, the fox said, that all beasts fear them. I wish I could meet a man, said the wolf. I would not fear him. I would make him run. Let us see about that, said the fox. If we take this path, I can show you a man. The fox led the wolf to a hedge beside the road. Here they hid and watched for a man to pass. By and by there came hobbling along an old soldier. He could hardly walk, even with a cane in his hand and a crutch under his arm. Is that a man? Asked the wolf. No, not now, said the fox. He was once. Then came a boy running to school. Is that a man? Asked the wolf again. No, not yet, said the fox. He will be one by and by. At last came a hunter. He had a gun on his shoulder and a knife in his belt. Ah, said the fox, there comes a man. Show fight, if you please. As for me, I shall run to hide. Away ran the fox. The wolf rushed at the man. What a pity my gun is loaded with small shot, said the hunter. He fired in the wolf's face as it sprang at him. Then he drew his knife and gave a sharp cut. Back to the woods ran the wolf, covered with blood. Well, brother wolf, said the fox, how did you come out in your fight with the man? Oh, groaned the wolf, he is, as you said, much stronger than I am. When I ran at him, he took a stick from his shoulder. Out of this he blew lightning in my face and hailstones against my nose. Still I would not give up. Then he pulled a rib out of his side, and with that cut me, so that I fear I shall die. Ah, said the fox, and all that you have gained is that you see how foolish it is to boast. Mother Hollie. A long time ago there stood a cottage at the edge of the woods. In this cottage lived a widow with her 2 daughters. The younger girl was fair and kind and sweet-tempered. The older was idle, and so vain and unkind that no one but her mother could bear her. Strange to say, the mother loved her far better than her sister. The younger girl did all the work of the house and had hard words besides. Every day she had to sit by the spring in the yard and spin till her fingers bled. One day as she was sitting there hard at work, her spindle or spool slipped from her fingers. It fell to the bottom of the spring and was lost to sight. The poor girl looked for it in vain. Then she went and told her mother what had happened. The mother scolded and beat her. You idle, careless girl, she said, you let the spindle fall because you do not wish to work. But you may as well get it out. I shall not buy another, and not a bite nor a sup shall you have until you bring it back. The girl went weeping to the spindle and stooped to see if she could find it. Alas! She leaned too far and in she fell. But instead of staying in the water, she fell on through the spring and came out the other side. She found herself in a beautiful meadow. The sun was shining bright, and there were thousands of flowers in bloom. There was a little path across the meadow, and this she followed. It led after a while to an oven full of bread. The loaves cried, "Take us out, take us out, we are done to a turn." The girl stepped to the oven and took out all the loaves. Then on she walked again. Soon she came to a tree full of ripe red apples. The tree cried, "Shake me, shake me, my apples are all ripe." Then she shook the tree till the apples fell round her like rain. She put them together in a heap and went on. At last she came to a small cottage. In the door stood an old woman. She looked so strange and so fierce that the girl started to run away. But the woman called after her, "Do not be afraid, dear child. Come here and live with me. Obey me and do your duty, and you will be met with only kindness. Every day you must make my bed well, shake it so that the feathers fly. Then there will be snow upon the earth, for I am Mother Hollie." So the girl went to live with Mother Hollie. Every day she shook the bed until the feathers flew like snowflakes. She had plenty to eat and drink, and never an unkind word. For a long time she was happy there with the old woman, but at last she began to feel sad. She was homesick after all, and longed to go back to her mother and sister. "Dear Mother Hollie," she said, "you are kind and good, but after all they are my mother and sister, and that is my home. I long to see them all." Then Mother Hollie said, "It is but right that you should wish to go home. You have served me well and truly, and you shall not miss your reward." She took the girl by the hand and led her up the path. They came at last to an open gate. As the girl passed through, there fell a shower of gold which clung to her dress. She was covered with gold from head to foot. "That is your reward for honest, faithful work," said Mother Hollie. Then she put in the girl's hand the lost spindle. The gate closed. All at once the girl found herself beside the spring in her mother's yard. A cock perched on the wall crowed, "Cock-a-doodle-doo, gold-covered maiden, a welcome to you." Because of the gold, her mother and sister were glad to see her, and spoke kindly. "Where have you been?" they asked. She told them all that had happened. Then the mother said to her favourite, "You must go to Mother Hollie, my dear, and get a share of her gold." The older daughter went out and sat beside the spring to spin. She wanted riches without work, and she would not spin long enough nor fast enough to make her fingers bleed. Till there was blood on the spindle it would not go down to the bottom of the spring. So the girl put her hand in a thorn bush and pricked her finger. A few drops of blood fell on the spindle. Then she threw it into the spring and jumped in after it. She found herself in the beautiful meadow and walked down the path till she came to the oven. She heard the loaves cry, "Take us out, take us out, we shall burn, for we have been long baking." But the idle girl answered, "No, indeed, I have no wish to soil my hands on an oven or to burn my fingers with hot loaves." On she walked until she came to the apple tree. Shake me," it cried, "my apples are all quite ripe." "That I will not," she answered, "some of your apples might fall on my head." And she walked lazily on. After a while she came to the door of Mother Hollie's house. She walked straight in and offered to serve the old woman. "Very well," said Mother Hollie, and told her what to do. For a whole day the girl worked well. She was thinking of the gold which she hoped to have. On the second day she did not do so well, and on the third day it was worse. Day after day passed. She got up late in the morning. She did not sweep under the bed. She never shook the bed so as to make the feathers fly. Every day she grew more idle and more rude. "I do not need you any longer," said Mother Hollie at last. "You may go home." The girl was tired of staying where she was not spoiled and petted. Off she ran down the path without even saying good-bye. The gate was open. "Ah," she thought, "the golden rain will come when I pass through." So she walked very slowly, but instead of gold came down a kettle of tar and pitch. "That is the reward of such service as yours," called Mother Hollie after her. The gate shut behind the idle girl, and she found herself at home. The cock crowed loudly. "Cock-a-doodle-doo, pitch-covered maiden, no welcome to you." The pitch stuck close. It clung not only to her clothes, but to her skin and her hair. Do what she would, as long as she lived, it never came off. The Three Luck Children. There was once an old man who was very ill. He called his three sons to his bedside. "I am old," he said, "and about to die. You have been good children, and all that I have I leave to you. I have no money. The worth of what I give depends on your making the right use of it." Then he gave to the oldest son a cock, to the second a scythe, and to the third a cat. "Take these," he said. "If you can find countries where these things are not known, they will be much worth to you." Soon after this the father died. Then the oldest son took his cock under his arm and started out. On the farms which he passed, cocks were very common. In the villages, too, he heard them crowing. He came at last to a great city. Here cocks were for sale in all the markets. No one thought his fowl at all wonderful. At last he sailed across the sea, hoping to find a land where cocks were not known. He sailed on and on till he came to an island. There the people had no cocks, and they had no clocks nor watches to tell them the time. The light told them when it was day, and the darkness when it was night. But when they did not sleep at night, they had no way of knowing the hour. "See," said the Luck Child, "what a fine bird this is. It has a red crown on its head, and there are spurs on its feet. It calls out 3 times in the night to tell the hour. The first time is near midnight. The second time is between midnight and day. The third is just before day. If it calls out in the day, it tells us there may be a change in the weather. That night the people stayed awake to hear the wonderful bird. It crowed loudly 3 times, as the luck child had said it would. The people were delighted and asked for how much gold he would sell it. As much as a donkey can carry, he said. That is not too much for such a useful bird, said they. So they brought a donkey and loaded it with gold. With this the luck child went back home. Then the second brother said, I will go and try to sell this scythe of mine. So he sharpened it well. Then he put it across his shoulder and started out. For a long time he found no sale for his blade. The farmers and workmen whom he met had scythes as good as his. At last he reached an island where the people had never heard of a scythe. When they wanted to reap their grain, they took cannon and shot it down. Then, too, the cannon made a dreadful noise. The luck child said, Let me show you how to cut grain. He went into a field of ripe wheat. With his scythe he cut it so quietly and so quickly that all the people wondered. That is a most useful knife, they said. Will you sell it? Yes, if you will give me as much gold as a horse can carry, said the luck child. This they were quite willing to do. They brought it to him at once, and he went back home. Now the youngest brother made up his mind to try his luck with his cat. It is all in taking the right thing to the right place, he said to himself. So he put his cat in a bag and started out as the others had done. He went to farms and villages and towns, but in all he found cats enough and to spare. In some places there were so many that the kittens were drowned. At last he got on a ship and sailed across the sea. He came to an island where no one had ever seen a cat. Rats and mice were everywhere. They ran underfoot. They climbed on the chairs and tables. They even took food from the plates when people were eating. In the palace of the king it was no better than in the hut of the poor. No one, whether high or low, had any peace in his life. Then the luck child went before the king and opened his bag. Out sprang the cat and caught rat after rat, mouse after mouse. Good, good, said the king. This wonderful beast will soon free us from the rats and mice. Will you sell it? Yes, said the luck child, if you will give me as much gold as a mule can carry. That I will, said the king. The luck child took the gold and went down to the ship to set sail for home. Meanwhile the cat made herself at home in the palace. The servants were kept busy counting the rats and mice that she killed. At last such hard work made her thirsty. She went to the servants crying, Mew, mew. They were frightened at this strange cry. Kings and servants and all ran away. Then they held a meeting to decide what to do. We will ask her to leave the palace, said the king. If she will not, we will send an army to drive her away. It was bad to be vexed by rats and mice, but it is worse to have here this fearful beast that cries mew, mew. A man was sent to ask the cat to leave the palace. Poor puss was now thirstier than ever, so she ran to him, saying mew, mew as loud as she could. Away ran the man, so fast that his coat-tails stood out straight behind him. "The fearful beast will not leave the palace," he cried. "When I asked her to go, she was very angry. She cried 'Mew, mew,' and gave me chase. I feared I should not get away with my life." "Now," said the people, "we must use force." So the cannon was brought. The first shot frightened the cat as much as her mewing had frightened the king. She sprang out of the window and ran to the ship. It was about to set sail, and home she went with her old master. But the people did not know she was gone. Shot after shot they fired at the palace till it was level with the ground. A cat's mewing is not at all threatening and scary. I object to that story quite strenuously, actually. But anyway, with that, I fear we have come to the end of our video. As always, I wish you a wonderful day and a wonderful night. Sweet dreams.